Kittlemeyer's shop was in a poverty-stricken area of town. To say that it was unimpressive would be an understatement. Its windows were patched with plywood, and its door handle was so rusty, it almost posed a physical threat. The shop was not listed in any telephone book. Its door bore no street number. No sign proclaimed what it sold. Those who peered into it from the doorway saw only a dimly lit room with an ancient counter, an old-fashioned cash register, an out-of-date calendar from the local service station, and a curtained doorway leading to another room that opened into the alley. One would think, to look at it, that Kittlemeyer's shop could not possibly attract any customer. And in truth, it did not attract many. But those who needed Kittlemeyer's particular services always seemed to know where to find him. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when an elegant black limousine pulled up in front of the shop and a tall, well-dressed man emerged from the back seat. His custom-made suit barely concealed his heavily muscled frame. He walked the 5 steps to Kittlemeyer's door, paused for just a moment, and then entered the shop. A bell rung gently, and old Kittlemeyer, a measuring tape slung over his shoulder, a pencil tucked behind his ear, pushed past the curtain and greeted his customer. "You are late," he said. The tall man shrugged. "It was unavoidable," he said, and Kittlemeyer noticed that the knuckles of his right hand were badly swollen. "We must hurry," said Kittlemeyer. "I have another appointment in 15 minutes. The tall man's interest was aroused, but he refrained from asking any questions. That was Kittlemeyer's rule, and he honored it. Kittlemeyer reached below the counter and withdrew a yellow belt that was lined with exterior pouches. "You see," he said, displaying it to the tall man, "I had to eliminate the container for the explosives in order to make room for the modified gas mask you will be using. You are quite sure of its dimensions?" The tall man nodded. "I took the liberty of making another slight change," continued Kittlemeyer, showing him a different section of the belt. "The miniaturized winch for your silken cord was wearing against the leather here, and so I reversed the inset angle." "I approve," said the tall man. "A tungsten cord would be just as strong and take up less room," suggested Kittlemeyer. The tall man shook his head. "I prefer silk. It causes less damage to the hands." Kittlemeyer shrugged. "You might think about it in the future. You could add an extra 20 yards to its length, and I could always reinforce your gauntlets." "Perhaps in the future, when the need for a longer cord arises," said the tall man. "You have something else for me?" Old Kittlemeyer nodded and reached beneath the counter again, this time withdrawing 2 long, dark blue gauntlets. "Where is the power source?" asked the tall man. "A lithium battery sewn into the lining of each, and these will insulate against the temperature of 100 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. "At least," said Kittlemeyer. "Good. I will be needing them to—" "I don't want to know," interrupted Kittlemeyer, holding up a hand. "What you do when you leave my premises is not my concern." The tall man nodded, and for a moment he was aware of a clock ticking in the dusty stillness. "I'll take these with me," he said at last, indicating the gauntlets. "Have you considered the boots?" "Yes, I must admit, I really like your suggestion." "Good," said Kittlemeyer. "Of course, I will need molds of your feet before I can equip them with springs enabling you to leap the required distance. Shall we make an appointment for, say, 2 o'clock on Thursday?" "Why not now?" asked the tall man. Kittlemeyer shook his head. "I have another appointment. You must leave before my next client arrives. You know the rules." "As you wish," said the tall man. Kittlemeyer set to work wrapping the belt and the gloves, then placed them into the nondescript shopping bag and handed them across the counter to the tall man. That will be, he thought for a moment, then named the sum that did not seem too exorbitant to him. In cash, as always. The tall man grunted, withdrew his wallet, took out a number of large bills, and laid them down on the counter. Until Thursday, then, said Kittlemeyer. Until Thursday, said the tall man. He picked up his shopping bag, walked out the door, and entered the back seat of his limousine, which immediately pulled out from the curb and was soon lost from sight in the rush hour traffic. Kittlemeyer put the money in his cash register, then checked his wristwatch. He badly wanted a cigarette, but his next client was never late, and so he remained behind the counter. At precisely 5:15 p.m., a wiry man with thinning blonde hair entered the shop, looking furtively into the shadows before he approached the counter. "Well?" he demanded. "Are they ready?" "4 of them are," answered Kittlemeyer. "2 were completely beyond repair. I will have to make entirely new ones." "Do it. And last time you gave me only 80 question marks. This time I want at least 100. And I want you to know that I will count every last one." Kittlemeyer pulled out a pad of paper and began scribbling in his almost illegible scrawl. 100 question marks each, he muttered as he wrote. "And the material must be strong, and the dyes waterproof." "Waterproof dyes," said Kittlemeyer while scribbling furiously. "Can you do it?" "Of course," said Kittlemeyer. "I must have them by next Monday, because on Tuesday—" He threw back his head and giggled hysterically. "Monday," said Kittlemeyer, nodding. 10 o'clock in the morning?" 10 o'clock, said the man. Kittlemeyer placed 4 neatly folded green costumes in a brown paper bag from the local grocery store. He then took a sheet of fresh scratch paper and scribbled a figure on it. "This is more than we agreed upon. My original figure was for repairing 6 costumes. I did not plan on having to make 2 from scratch." "You kept the old devices for the new costumes?" queried the man. "I would be very unhappy to find that I was paying for new weapons when the old ones were in perfect working order." "I kept them," said Kittlemeyer. "You can expect them when you return next Monday." The man stared at him distrustfully for a long moment, then pulled out a roll of bills and placed them on the counter. Kittlemeyer counted them carefully, then looked up. "Please bring another $600 with you on Monday, and then your account will be up to date." The man nodded almost impenetrably, then grabbed his bag, turned on his heels, and left. It had been a long day, and old Kittlemeyer was getting hungry. He sighed. It was satisfying to be known as the very best in your trade, but your time was so seldom your own. He checked his watch again and decided that he had just enough time to go out for a quick sandwich before Selina arrived for her fitting.